and specifically look at China, whose foreign ministry spokesperson Lin Jian has said that China firmly opposes any form of official exchanges between the United States and Taiwan, responding to reports that Taiwanese President Lai could make transit stops in the US next month, as he will be on a visit to Paraguay and Belize. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson also said that the US must understand how sensitive the Taiwan issue is and act with the utmost caution. Taiwan's president is expected to visit Paraguay in around 30 days, according to Paraguayan President Santiago Peña. Paraguay is one of just 12 countries that maintain formal diplomatic relations with Taiwan and the only one in South America. Taiwan's presidential office has not yet confirmed the trip, but China considers Taiwan part of its territory, while Taipei maintains that it has the right to engage freely with other countries. Well, Andrew, thank you for staying with us. Of course, this announcement coming with some uncertainty and a potential for rising tensions if Lai Ching-te does make the trip over to the United States after this visit. How would that be received by China, and what would be the response by China?
Well, of course, Taiwan has long not been recognized by the United Nations as a sovereign state, and China is now regarded as the sovereign nation representing China. And that one China policy has been upheld by the United States. But on the other hand, the United States also have a Taiwan Relations Act empowering the US administration to supply arms to defend Taiwan. And of course, the Taiwan question is increasingly being used as a counterweight against China's influence in the Asia-Pacific and over the South China Sea. Now, there is a great deal of rhetoric in the West that somehow Beijing is preparing to invade Taiwan, if necessary, by 2027. But I think that this rhetoric is much misplaced because Beijing, I think, is seeing it as a trap. Because any kind of military action across the Taiwan Strait carries huge risks, and because the waters are choppy, and also because the distance and because the logistic involved in it is a nightmare. Now, the reunification of Taiwan has, of course, been emphasized by President Xi many times. But the preference is still on peaceful unification, which has been enshrined in 3 successive white papers issued by Beijing, the last coincided with the provocative visit by Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan. Now, how is peaceful unification going to be achieved? But the people on both sides are increasingly interacting with one another. You've got tourism on both sides, and then as many at one time, maybe even 1 million Taiwanese, together with their families, are already living and working on the mainland on their businesses. Even down, the number is down to about 200 and 300,000. But a lot of Taiwanese people and businesses are establishing their ventures in China, and also, of course, you've got film directors and so on featuring in Chinese make films in Beijing. You can see the director, Mr. So-and-so from Taiwan, China, film stars and artists. So I think that there is a great deal of person-to-person exchanges. And of course, you mentioned about these diplomatic visits, and the diplomatic space for Taiwan has been largely squeezed, as then only a very small handful of small countries are still establishing relationship with Taiwan. So through diplomatic containment, through people-to-people exchanges, through the economic kind of gravitas, pivoting towards mainland China, and also through military means, if you like, warning to separatist elements. Now, of course, Taiwan has now elected a leader which is a hardcore separatist, and that's why Beijing is rattling up this rhetoric, sounding a warning, but that doesn't mean that Beijing is going to invade Taiwan anytime soon.
Yes, and Andrew, I want to ask a question to provide some context to this story for people who might not have the sort of historical knowledge on this situation. Why does China really care about this situation? Taiwan has been governed for so long. What's the reason for China's strength on this position over Taiwan and looking at that reunification as a real key point of policy?
Well, Taiwan has been part of China for a very, very long time. If you look at history, if you Google, you can see that Taiwan was part of the Ming Dynasty. I mean, you're talking about the 600s or the 1300s rather. When the Ming Dynasty stationed a garrison and Emperor Zhang Chenggong was in Taiwan. And of course, the Taiwanese people have the same culture, and the reunification is very central to China's national psyche of a recovery of China's renaissance, China being a united country, including Taiwan and of course all the other provinces, and including Tibet and Xinjiang and the whole of China has been there for a long, long time. And because of the so-called century of humiliation, when China was subject to foreign aggression and partition, so the natural sovereignty is natural psyche is supported by the vast majority of Chinese people around the world.
Yes, absolutely. And Andrew, just to bring an end to this discussion, of course, military drills currently ongoing by the Taiwanese military. We know China have reacted. We brought that to our audience this morning. What is the significance of these drills in the wake of these heightened tensions?
Are you asking me?
Yes, Andrew. Yes, please.
Yes. Well, of course, I mean, these drills are there to send a signal to separatist elements in Taiwan, and also putting up the pressure on kind of pro-independence movement. If you look at the Taiwanese people, most people do not want to immediate unification. They want just to maintain the status quo, but the status quo has been going on for so long, and President Xi has made it quite plain that the deadline for unification by any means is 2049, which is the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. But the preference, as I was trying to explain, is still peaceful unification, and that's why China put a lot of emphasis on people-to-people exchanges, integration of the Taiwanese economy into China, opening up opportunities for up-and-coming Taiwanese entrepreneurs. But on the other hand, trying to and doubling down on military warning in exercises, missiles, and also battleships surrounding Taiwan, suggesting that even the Taiwan blockade is quite possible, not to mention China's missile range and other military assets. So I think that this is a multi-pronged approach to bringing Taiwan back to the motherland eventually. But ideally, sending a warning to separatist elements, using military exercises, but also through peaceful means by promoting people-to-people exchanges, investments, and economic connectivity.
Andrew KP Leung, as always, thank you ever so much for joining us and providing that insight. We do now have some breaking news to bring you coming from Moscow.